everybody, happy Sunday night. I wanted to discuss this week's, I'm just going to focus mostly on the readings, I think. So here we are, week 6, one more week to go. I'm going to be focusing on the readings from the 2 chapters for the topic of acting teachers and their students, reflecting on week 6 readings. I'm going to start with chapter 7, Minding My Own Business. In this pretty short chapter, Margolin suggests that drama can show us things about ourselves that we might not see otherwise. I thought that was really a pretty great quote, and something that will really encourage us to look inside ourselves, and explore more of ourselves through our acting. They did an exercise where actors would get a text and they'd have to connect that text to their personal experience. It wouldn't necessarily be connected to that experience, but it could be an unrelated text, but they have to associate something within that text to their own personal experience. And then while being guided by the teacher, they would say one thing about it, responding to their personal emotion while thinking of another. So I thought that was kind of a cool way to explore subtext and to attach different meanings to things, which, as actors can help us to make those connections too. I might not have like an exact connection with what the actor's going through, but I can certainly take some element of my life and connect it to that moment and then, pull from that emotion. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It makes us think just not about the subtext in theater, but also in real life. Meanwhile, I did find some of this work to be a little contradictory. She also said, so it felt like everything needs to be really, really intentional. But then at the same time, she also said that acting is an emergency, and in an emergency, you do whatever works. So certainly that's true. You got to get through the scene. But I just thought that was very different and contradictory, from what else I had read. But, I guess it was really about achieving what works best in that moment. And it seems like these methods are pretty inconsistent, but, it is true that different methods work for different actors and in different situations, and you might not always be able to draw from a personal connection in every situation. So I do think flexibility is necessary at times. Personally, as an actor, though, and as a director, I just like performances to be really consistent. So I do think, even if you might be using different methods, it's really important to be sort of drawing on the same methods once you hit like showtime and you get through tech. I just think it's really important to be consistent in what you're drawing on. So that way the show is, consistent. While it's fun to experiment and have, fun and try new things, you also don't want to throw off, don't throw them out. You don't want to throw off your acting partners. So yeah, that was just sort of my own take on that. Chapter 12 of Krasner, Practicing the Paradox, Addressing the Creative State. In this essay, it's really focusing on Peter Lobdell, and it suggests that making connections between the actor's life and what the character is going through is the vehicle. And I thought I agreed with that. A big part of this is the connection between concentration and relaxation. It made me think about, how I get my actors together in energy circles before shows. It also reminded me of when, actually earlier today, we had a master class at my theater company, and we had English Bernhardt, who played 3 different roles in Mean Girls. She was Katie, Janice, and Regina, so 3 totally different roles. I'll be there in a second. And she had to go from being on standby for Katie and Janice, Katie in the matinee and Janice at night, and she had to make this like transformation from like this really sweet, pure character to like this really edgy character. And she talked about how she really had to like take some time and switch gears, even though she had been playing both. To go immediately from one to the other was a challenge. I thought that was kind of cool, a neat anecdote for my kids to hear. So he also talked about teaching sensory work, not miming. Instructors, should be, it can be like discouraging because sensory work is internal. So miming should be discouraged by instructors. And sensory work, they likened it to like a pianist practicing scales. It's a tool that you use to approach the music or the circumstance of the play. It's not the performance. Sensory experiences should register internally, not through miming invisible things. So it shouldn't be you like pretending to hold a cup, but it could be about the internal feeling. So not faking the outer action, but actually feeling it. So for example, they talked about actors recreating rain. It's not about recreating rain or like pretending to fall or being super dramatic. It's about that sensation, the feeling on your skin and responding to it. The sound. the smell, you know, all the reactions that we get when rain is happening. And by feeling those differences, it leads to more authentic acting. So one example I made a note of was like, you know, if you're out in the rain, for example, like it might get cold, so suddenly you might hunch your shoulders, you know. So it's just those little subtle things that you can do, that they would notice as actors, and not doing it like intentionally and consciously, but by accessing the sensory experience and then letting those like responses overtake you, I guess. This method was criticized because it forces actors to sort of cherry pick elements that they might be connected with the most. And it said that it could make the show or the performance seem self-indulgent or unbalanced. Personally, I like a mixed bag of strategies. So if personal connections can help improve a certain aspect of a show, I think go for it, and then use other strategies for the rest. But that's sort of my takeaway from the readings, and I ran out of time, so I will not talk about the film. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you again one last time. Take care. Bye.